So I've just read a report that a town in Argentina has banned beauty contests from taking part there. It's Chivilcoy. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Chivilcoy in the Buenos Aires area, and it's banned beauty queen competitions in the town. Now, this is something that regularly comes up in debates that feminists have regarding sexism and what they regard as objectification of women. It's one of their favourite things to target, seems to be beauty contests. I don't want to speak specifically about the situation there, because this is a very widespread thing. Wherever there's beauty contests, there are two groups of people that oppose them, either feminists or Islamists. Isn't that ironic? Either feminists or Islamists. I say Islamists because in some Muslim countries there's been examples of beauty contests being opposed by hardline theocrats. That's been the case in Indonesia and Nigeria. It's unthinkable in certain other Islamic countries. But in other situations it's the feminists. Now, I do find that a little bit ironic that they are actually on the same page and opposing the same thing, albeit for different reasons, but nevertheless they both oppose it. With making this video, I don't exactly want to come across as a poster PR man or something like that for beauty contests, and I'm not going to sit here and say that there is absolutely no problems whatsoever with beauty contests. I think there is some valid criticism to be made of them, insofar as, for example, it can be said that the fashion industry in general, and this is also true of women's magazines, is guilty of enforcing a rigid ideal of beauty onto young women, and that can lead to health problems like bulimia and so on. That has to be taken seriously, and the powerful fashion industry has to take that seriously, and I do think they have been guilty, more so in the past, it has to be said, but they have been guilty of enforcing an image that is not realistic and not healthy. However, I don't believe that something should be banned just because some people don't like it. I would love to see the Jeremy Kyle show banned, but I also recognise that we live in a democracy and I can't just ban it. But anyway, maybe not a good example. No, what I want to talk about here is what the actual thinking behind this, because the constant claim is that it is sexist. Now, what I find striking is feminists take this idea that it is sexist primarily from the point of view that there are men involved. They never ever seem to consult the women themselves. And I have seen beauty queens interviewed who have defended the industry, or defended the industry sounds very cold and metallic, who defended what they are involved in. I think it was the South African winner of Miss World recently who pointed out the abundance of benevolent work that Miss World has been involved in over the years, and there are various different organisations that go under similar titles, but she was always defending her. I forget her name, it was Rolene Strauss. She was defending it. There was a BBC report looking at back in the 70s when feminists jumped on stage and to attack it. There is some people do believe that it's a case that feminists are basically just jealous of beautiful women. That might be true, it might not, I don't know. I don't know if there's jealousy involved and they use sexism as a cover for that. I really don't know. But this is the thing I really take issue with, is how an ideological movement like feminism can dictate its will. Now, I appreciate the situation in Argentina might have been by democratic consensus, but in many other circumstances, feminists will try to force their will onto an organisation or an event just because they don't like it, and in their opinion it is sexist. But I saw one woman say that it was good, women are not cattle. Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but there is not a situation whereby cows are asked if they want to go to the market or not. And there's not a situation where cows are judged on their beauty. So that analogy is a really phony one in my opinion. It's a bit like when feminists come out and say, oh, women are not a piece of meat, when they're going on about objectification. What really bugs me is they seem to have a problem with appreciation of the human form, of female beauty, as if it's something to be repressed. Why is it feminists have such a problem with that? I know they'll turn around and say, oh, but real beauty is within, and so on. And that's fine, I've got a lot of respect for that logic, but I have no respect for the idea that an event be cancelled because in their opinion it's sexist without asking the participants themselves. Now, I'm not someone who says absolutely every situation that someone ostensibly chooses to take part is faultless, and again, I'm not saying that this concept, this industry is faultless. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is I don't think feminists should have the right to dictate. And I guarantee you, if men didn't watch it, and if there weren't men involved, they wouldn't care. If it was entirely organised by women, and actually many of the senior figures involved are women, not that it matters to them, but the very fact there are some men involved is enough for them to say it's sexist. Because feminists hate the idea of men appreciating female beauty. Because it must be sexist. It must be based on control. It must be based on the patriarchy trying to control these innocent women. It's just phony. It is utterly phony. Of course there's pressures involved in the industry, but there's pressures in any sort of competition. You know, there's pressures on young men if they want to get into a boxing match. There's pressures on politicians to legislate. There's pressures on many people. So yes, there is pressures involved, but I don't see it as a particularly bad thing. Yes, there is the issue with sort of determining a beauty standard, and I think that can be flawed. And I don't think anybody has a right to dictate this is beauty, you must agree with us. So when magazines come out and say, for example, is this the world's most beautiful woman, I'm thinking rubbish. Because how on earth do you define something like that? So I'm not saying the industry is above criticism. But likewise, I don't think that feminists have a right to dictate their will onto everybody else, and I'm fed up with it. Especially not onto other women. And this is another irony about this whole situation. Feminists insist that they're standing up for women's rights and women's choices. And yet, how often do feminists actually listen to, or respect, or consult the women involved? I mean, have they actually asked the women themselves how they feel about this? Have they actually brought them to a private room and said, do you feel you're being exploited? Do you hate this? And I am pretty sure the vast majority of the participants would say, no. You know, I have the potential of winning a lot of money. I have the potential of feeling great if I'm the winner. And it's a fun event. So I really take issue with the control factor in this. The control comes from the feminists. Now, if they really believe that there are problems within it, that I defend their right to have an opinion. But I believe if there are problems within it, if there is exploitation going on, then models involved in it can speak out. And I don't believe for a second that they are not in a position to do that if they, for example, have retired. Now, I have seen a lot of feminists condemn Miss World and other similar events. I have seen very, very, very few former participants do it. Why? Probably because they've seen the benefits of taking part in such an event in their mind. Also, there's an inconsistency here, because if it's sexist to celebrate female beauty, then surely it is also sexist to celebrate male physical power in Mr. Universe contests. So why do feminists not take an issue with that? Think about it. Surely it's the same principle. It's aesthetics. It's a human form. So what's the difference? And basically, wonder, do feminists really want a situation where women are going around, beautiful women are going around covered up because, you know, some men might appreciate it? It's exactly the same sort of thinking that Islamists have. It offends them. And I just don't like the control factor. If you really think that there are problems within this industry, then yeah, speak out against them. But I just don't think feminists have a right to dictate to other women the way they should lead their lives. So much for personal choice. They couldn't care less about personal choice. And again, I believe if no men were involved at all, they would be all right with it. Hey, it's fine. But if men dare appreciate female beauty, I mean, look at this, for example. I have a poster of a Chinese actress, right? A friend gave that to me, a female friend, by the way. There we have a beautiful young woman. I think it's Fan Bingbing. I have that poster in my room, not to perv on her, but because I appreciate female beauty. I'm a heterosexual man, and I appreciate female beauty. Now, why the hell do feminists have such a problem with that? Feminists actually hate human nature. And I'm so fed up with them trying to control everybody else. In that sense, they're actually quite similar to religious hardliners. Both groups believe they're morally right. Both groups try to control others, totally disregarding personal choice. And both groups don't tolerate dissenting views. So I'm so fed up with it. And I know feminists will come out on here and say, oh, you're a man, how can you talk? But this is the point. Okay, disregard me, I'm a stupid man, whatever. Ask the women themselves. Ask them. If you truly value freedom of choice, ask them. Ask Rolling Strauss. And another point, it's not just about beauty. There's been an increasing emphasis in modern Miss World competitions on a wide range of things, including benevolent work, including education, including a whole range of things that go well beyond just aesthetic beauty. Because I think feminists have this idea in their mind that beauty contests are all about the women being like subservient 1950s Stepford wives. I think that's ridiculous. I think if you look at those competitions and you look at some of the values involved, it's not just about physical beauty. It's also about good values as a human being, caring for other people. There are a lot of good values in there. So why do they not recognise those things? It seems to me feminists just vilify these competitions without showing an objective sort of viewpoint, without really looking at all the angles. Yes, there are some problems within it, and I'm sure there are things that can be reformed. And I don't think there should be excessive pressure on young women for to have an ideal beauty standard. But I disagree that these competitions brainwash women into acting a certain way. And frankly, if you are brainwashed into that, it's your own fault. You shouldn't be so misled by other people. People should have a bit more independence of thought. So I disagree with scapegoating a beauty contest for forcing some sort of beauty standard onto women. My message to young women out there is, think for yourselves more. Don't let yourselves be led by what you perceive to be beauty. Now I know feminists will say, oh, but this is Miss World, it's very powerful. Yes, it is. But there is no difference really between that, and you're arguing it misleads young women, and let's say Mr. Universe, then putting pressure on young men to be physically strong. Now, I would say young men have the responsibility to not follow the crowd and not just do that because it looks good. I mean, I respect a well-toned man. I would love to get a better body, but I'm not going to I am not going to go out of my way and change my entire life to try and look like Arnold Schwarzenegger. Well, actually, that wouldn't be my ideal standard anyway, but the point is that. And because you have some people who will be sensitive people, and I'm not attacking them, by the way, I'm just saying that I don't think it is valid to say that is the case with everyone, and I don't think an entire industry, an entire event that has a very long and established history should be bullied into change just because feminists don't like it. And this is a very, for them to talk about human rights or sexism, it's just so phony. Why the hell won't they focus on real issues like girls' education, which, by the way, there are a lot of things, positive things that Miss World does, that they completely disregard. Ask an average Miss World contestant what she thinks of girls' rights in Pakistan. You'll probably find she has very progressive views on that. So the idea that Miss World teaches the wrong values, I disagree with that. I don't think it does. Just because it does involve physical beauty does not mean that's the only thing it involves. Anyway, I've spoken at length here, and I'll end up just repeating myself. In conclusion, I'm not saying this is perfect. I'm not saying that everything about it is perfect. But I don't see anything wrong with appreciation of female beauty. The human body is a beautiful thing. Human features are a beautiful thing. So why the hell do feminists want to suppress it? I think it comes down to control, and that is the very core of feminist thinking. Control, control, control. Trying to dictate to others the way to lead their lives.